of adventure.
I was muted. What's going on, everyone? Sorry. How are you guys? I got my blanket on. And we're just going to read the prologue because I feel like we need to. So we're going to do that. How is everyone doing? What's going on, guys? How's everyone's night? Sorry, I have betrayed the Europeans. I'm sorry. It is very valid. What time is it right now with you guys? 1 a.m. Well, you don't have to watch this stream that much because... So what I'm going to do... because this is like a... I read this once on my own. I wanted to redo this because people were telling me in the last appendix stream that'd be fun to kind of just read through this once. I'll probably read this again on my second read, but this is really my second read. So we'll just call this my third read or the next one my third read. Ooh, watching the news. Yeah. Then this happened. Good. Ooh, beautiful sunny afternoon in Aussie. Love that. I am going to, as soon as I start reading, I'm going to change the chat to members only. It's the first time that I've ever done that. And I'm not doing it to try to convince people to become a member. I'm just doing it just because I am going to do like a quick read through this. I'm just going to kind of go through my thoughts and emotions with it. I'm not going to do like quick, crazy deep dives on this chapter. I'm not going to make videos about this chapter, at least not yet. This is essentially just me wanting to get a bit more information. So when I go into the appendices, I'll understand a bit more. Because people were kind of saying that they correlate a little bit. Like a lot of the stuff that is in the appendices so far, some of it is in the, whatchamacallit. So, I know, it is actually perfect with today's video too, with the idea of we. No, there's not going to be any spoilers. We're not going to do any spoilers. We're essentially just going to read through this chapter. I'll make a few comments here and there, but I really will keep it spoiler free as much as I can. No, I'll try to keep it spoiler free as much as I can. Yeah. It's 20 minutes past midnight, raining. You're off work tomorrow. Oof. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah. The chat, it's always a fair reminder. Everyone in the chat should be spoiler free because there are people in the chat right now who are reading this for the first time. So it is valid that a lot of people in the chat haven't really been spoiler conscious, but I feel like for the most part we've been pretty good, except for Rippin', which you guys just killed me on. It's totally not about hobbits. I'm reading this version. Look at this. Look at how this glitters. Glimmers. What's the word for it? Shines. This is my nice version. Actually, I have not cracked this open and read from this yet. I'm not going to take notes on this chapter because I'm not going to make videos on this chapter yet. When I do my second read through, my official second read through, I'll probably make a lot of essays on it then, but we'll get there eventually. in 20 years when we do the second read through. I'm different from typical booktubers, but are you planning to do June on the Range? Louis L'Amour has a lot of short stories if you don't want to commit to anything big. Just wondering. Yeah. What is June on the Range? I've never heard of that. What's the date of that? That'll determine what channel it goes on. Hey, Mr. Renan Happy. Welcome. Finally catching a live stream. I love that. Are you like part of our Australian or Asian contingent? Oh, Venerthron, welcome to the Hot Tamales. All right, guys, we're going to start the read in maybe like 15, 20 minutes. We're just going to chill. It's Westerns during the month of June. What do you mean? June? What do you mean? What do you mean Westerns during the month of June? Should we read that during June? During the month of June? Reading Westerns during June. Is that what people do? Do you read Westerns during June? During June? If you don't ban me, I'll tell John who Bilbo is. No! Why? I don't want to know anything. I'm sure you've heard this a bunch already, but your passions on the series has convinced me to read it again out loud to your wife and 13-year-old son. Thank you for the inspiration. That makes me so happy. Oh, interesting. I didn't know booktubers did Western during the month of June. Maybe we'll do a Western during June. I feel like a short story. Or maybe we'll do a Western, aka a Greek epic. Because they're in the West. Maybe we can find a slant to it. Maybe we'll do something with Lord of the Rings that happens in the West. Yeah, play Red Dead Redemption 2, honestly. Yeah, we got to figure out a Tolkien Western. Blood Meridian could be fun. Honestly. Yeah, we'll figure something out. If you guys don't know too, I have a classics channel. You guys can subscribe to that too. I got you with the comment that Awen was a Karen. I watched most of your streams. I know. I'm kind of bummed that all of them were in I didn't start streaming them till really book 3 and 4. But that's what we'll do when we get back to this. That's what we'll do. So yeah, Iliad is the Western canon. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I love that you're reading that out loud too. That makes me really happy. I think there's a special thing about reading this out loud. You guys should try it in your next read. Don't even read it to someone. Just read it out loud to yourself if you have to. It's really fun. It's like a transformative experience. Highly recommend. I remember, that was one of the moments I remember the most when I read the first book, is the forward moment made my eyes go. But can't talk about that much because it's spoilers. It's crazy. Incomplete. I only have 4 of the 6 books I know, but we'll eventually get to live reading all of them, but not yet. Chapter 6 of the Silmarillion. That's a Western. It's gonna take us maybe we'll do that chapter next year, because that's probably when we'll get to the Silmarillion. Oh. Instrode that moment blew my mind. That was crazy. I didn't know June was Western month in BookTube. I don't know anything about BookTube or BookTok. I just kind of do my own thing, which probably isn't great. I probably should know a little bit something more. I follow like one BookTuber. Actually, I follow some Lord of the Rings channels, but there's like 1 or 2 BookTubers that I follow. But just like that's just like personal. I just kind of like what they're doing. But I don't really know like the trends of some of that stuff. I'm like very out of the loop on it. But that's what I do. I just do book stuff on YouTube. So I should probably get with it. Yikes. The fate of every one of the members of the Fellowship is they get beheaded. Oh man, that was such a good section. Honestly, one of the best sections. I remember making that video and being hyped about it. That was one of the first videos that I was really, really hyped about something. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Steve Donahue, your favorite booktuber. Interesting. Never heard. Yeah, what other booktubers do you guys listen to or watch? I follow like really, really big ones that are probably not like niche booktubers. Man carrying things, man carrying women, or woman carrying man. Emmy. And there's also the guy that comes up, Daniel Green, every once in a while. He pops up on my channel. I don't watch it that much, but he does some good stuff. I don't know that much about BookTube, though. There's a few other good booktubers. Myth Mavens is a really great channel, booktube channel. But I don't know much else. I don't know much else. You tend to avoid tube communities. Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like the thing that we have right now with I don't know if we have this more than other booktubers, but we have a community here. Not just being the lonely rider. I feel like we got a really good group here. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm just blowing smoke up my own butt, but I feel like the community that we developed in doing some of the live reads, like, I know you guys. I mean, like, obviously some other YouTubers know their viewers, but this is like different. I like hang out with you guys. Like, how often are a lot of people just hanging out with their channel? Like, a lot of them don't live stream, so we have that advantage. Bookborn, I feel like I've heard of her before. But I don't remember. I feel like I've seen some of her stuff. Wait, who's using their pipe wrong? Am I using my pipe wrong? I have my pipe sitting over there. I could probably sit and smoke a pipe while I do this read. It'd be kind of fun. Honestly, I should do that. I have the pipe of Aragorn, gifted to me by Lizzie. Ugh. Got a little thing in my mouth. I'm glad that I'm the only booktuber that you guys know. I'm just like a Lord of the Rings. This is like just a Lord of the Rings channel. So, I mean, it's a little bit different. I guess that's a book. So I guess we're a booktuber. How about this? Besides me, guys, who's your favorite YouTuber? What is the best channel that you guys watch? That's crazy that booktube reviews of Lord of the Rings are terrible. Do they read? That's crazy. That is absurd to me. That's like absolutely crazy. This is the place that you guys need to be. We have some good people on so there's some really good channels that are even in this chat right now. Also, everyone liked the stream. But like, okay, I don't know if you guys want me to call you out, but some of you guys do great content on your own channels. Nemo does great content on his own channel. Michael does incredible content on his channel. Tolkien Rants does incredible content on her channel. Like, there's some great people that are my favorite YouTubers that I hang out with, like you guys. It is crazy to me. I know some of you guys have seen John. His name is John. Someone tag him in this video. He's got like 1,000 subscribers, or maybe more than that, maybe like 2,000. Let me check real quick. He's reading Lord of the Rings, but he's trying to be a booktuber right now. I just subscribed to him. He's got a really interesting channel. But he doesn't talk about books enough. No, he doesn't. He talks about books enough. He doesn't talk about Lord of the Rings enough. He just he just did a 20-minute and 53-second review on the Fellowship of the Ring. His Two Towers review was 21 minutes and 32 seconds. That doesn't suffice. I need more. And that's why it was funny, because when I was starting my Lord of the Rings read through, I was doing one essay per chapter. And even like after the first like 3 chapters, I was like, this is not enough. Like, there's so much here to talk about. So what I was going to do is I was going to make maybe 50 shorts for each chapter, because there's so much information in them, because I was geeking out about everything. and I was going to make a bunch of shorts and make one essay per chapter. But then I got to the Council of Elrond chapter, and I was just like, I don't want to do shorts. I just want to talk about this longer. And there you go. And then look where we are today. You don't agree with Two to Ramble. Haven't even heard of Two to Ramble. Yeah, everyone. I don't know if you guys are really into reading classics. I know a lot of you guys are into reading classics. I know a lot of you are just into reading Lord of the Rings and like other brilliant fantasy literature. But if you guys are into classics, have I got a channel for you? Hold on one second. Let me copy paste this. And I want to go to the channel. If you guys want, I have another channel called First Time Classics that we read classics on. Yeah, Michael, I've been your Game of Thrones videos are really fun, and I am a little mad that you're ahead of me because I love the community of reading with other people, but I am gonna go so slow through that book that you can't keep going as slow as me. That's ridiculous. We did have a terrible time the last book. We just finished Wuthering Heights this morning, so if you want, you can subscribe to that channel. You don't have to if you don't want. I'm not going to force your guys' hand. You guys don't have to be members if you want. We're just chilling here. We're just having fun. You guys can do whatever you want. Yeah, it actually is crazy. Like, I don't think I would have the ability to talk about Lord of the Rings, the entirety of Fellowship of the Ring, in under 2 hours. You know what I mean? I don't think I could actually do that. So I don't know. I haven't done any Ray Bradbury on that channel, but we probably will do some Ray eventually. But the only thing is, I am trying to do classics that are public domain, and I don't think a lot of Ray Bradbury stuff is public domain yet. It's gonna get there eventually, but you can't subscribe to a channel more than once. Sarah, thank you for already subscribing. Yeah, Wuthering Heights, guys. We just did Wuthering Heights. It was one of the hardest reads that I've ever done in my life. I'm so glad it's done. You're going to go hiking alone in an unfamiliar place with no phone, food, or water. That sounds so good. I love that you're doing that. Bring a GPS. Just bring a GPS and you'll be good. Man, that's great. James Branch Cable. Never even heard. I don't really remember anything about Fahrenheit 451, although I did read it in high school, but I didn't really read anything in high school. Rereading the Divine Comedy. We're going to get there on the Classics channel eventually. We'll get there when we get there. Here's the plan. If any of you actually want to subscribe to the Classics channel, the rough plan for that one. Sorry, I just ate dinner, so I'm going to be a little gassy. That was inappropriate. Sorry, TMI. We are going to read The Scarlet Pimpernel next. And then we're going to read a Dickens book. I don't know what Dickens book yet, but we're going to read a Dickens book. And then we're going to do the Iliad and the Odyssey probably together in the summer. But we'll see. We'll figure it out. Real world mythology? Is real world mythology a book or a genre? I don't know. Interesting that you found her style underwhelming. Yeah, I'm thinking about A Tale of Two Cities because it's like one of his shortest, but I've heard A Tale of Two Cities is his most different book from all the others. Oh, we'll get there. We'll figure it out. I don't know anything about Homeric writing, so I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to do some Lovecraft. I'm actually kind of tempted. So, I mean, most of you guys know this channel is a Tolkien channel, but we are going to delve into a few other things. Like it's going to be 95% Tolkien. But I'm considering doing some Lovecraft on this channel because I feel like maybe there's some similarities between Tolkien and Lovecraft. Like I'll probably eventually do the Chronicles of Narnia on this channel, some Le Guin, and maybe a few other small things, but that'll very much be secondary. Like I think Tolkien is really going to take up the majority of this channel all the time. And then like maybe in the background, sometimes I'll read like a Lovecraft or something. Ooh, reading spoiler-free notes for Iliad and Odyssey. That makes me so happy. I'm going to use those notes. That is exciting. I'm so pumped. Yeah, Madeline Langle too. Yep. The only so the issue with Dickens is I want it to be somewhat short. A lot of the books that he writes, because he just was word count paid, are different. So, I want the first one that we do to be like digestible, so I can get the feel and the scope of some of Dickens' work. Yeah, Bradbury would be fun, but I don't think he's public domain yet. But we could probably get away with it. I mean, Lord of the Rings is in public domain, and we got away with this whole channel. But I think I am. Getting through copyright, because this channel doesn't copyright when we read, because I make so much commentary. The whole purpose of this, I make a lot of commentary, and I talk about these books a lot to bypass copyright, because I'm adding my own copyright. I'm adding my own flavor to it. So I believe that it's under fair use. That is my argument. Because I'm not, you're not coming to this channel to listen to an audiobook. You're coming to this channel to geek out with someone who's geeking out about Lord of the Rings, reading it for the first time. Yeah, we're going to do a Christmas Carol during Christmas. Imagine doing Christmas Carol in July. We probably could do that. It'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I feel like we're under fair use. I appreciate it, even though you're not a lawyer. That makes me happy. Yeah, we're gonna do Christmas Carol next winter. That'll be our Christmas story. Robert E. Howard, interesting. Okay, that's true. Winter starts in June for you Aussies. Hey, we could. So I know I actually have read the prologue, but I skimmed the prologue. I didn't really read it. Absolutely, and that's why I love when you stop right before the answer in fodder ranges, only to discover it in the next sentence. Yeah, that's valid. You missed the first couple of live reads because I thought you were just reading. Interesting. Yeah, my audiobooks would not be very good. So when the first time, let me talk about the prologue real quick. My experience with it. Little Wes back there scratching away. Can you guys see him? You can't see him anymore. He was just, it's hard to do this mirror image thing. I'm looking at myself. I should stop looking at myself and just do that. Wes is right there. The second time that I read it, I probably am going to do some voices and do some songs. I'm going to read it a bit more like actorly. I feel like it'd be kind of fun. I'm not a voice actor, but I feel like it'd be fun to just practice and do that. Not that I'm trying to become a voice actor, but I just feel like it'd be fun. So we're going to try it. Okay, so the prologue, when I read it for the first time, here's my Lord of the Rings origin story. Imagine if I was like, guys, I've already read this and this whole channel was a scam. I don't know, I could never. When I was in high school, I tried to read this once, and I got through I think the chapter until Frodo moves. And I was just really bored, and I was like, come on, I can't do this. I got to chapter 3, Three is Company, and I was like, Frodo moves, I don't like that. And so I just shut it and didn't revisit it for 20 years. That's sad. That it's almost coming up to 20 years since it is 20 years since I started this. I tried to start this. And then I had a podcast called Harry Potter and the First Time Readers, which some of you guys know, some of you guys follow. And I was reading Harry Potter, not for my first time, but for some of my friends' first time. And it was like my 20th time. And I was guiding them through it, and it was so fun. It was the greatest thing ever. I loved it so much. And so we finished Harry Potter, and we're like, one of my friends who was doing it with me is like, he's like, wants to keep doing it. Danny's like one of my oldest friends. He's like, we have to do Lord of the Rings next. And so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. We're going to do Lord of the Rings next. So we did Lord of the Rings, And I was listening to it. And so I was listening to it passively. So we finished book 1, but I didn't know what the heck was happening. I was lost. So I said, Danny, Jen, Lizzie, who were the people I was doing the podcast with, hold on, because I need to reread this and figure things out. So I read Lord of the Rings, which is really for my first time, actual physical copy, and then studied it. And that's when I started writing the essays. And that's when the channel started to do well. And then everything from there. And then, so when I first read it, I remember literally like reading or listening to the prologue and being like, none of this really makes sense. I don't really get this. Like, who cares? And I just went past it. But now I'm excited to read. You read Harry Potter for the first time around the time of your podcast. Interesting. And yet didn't even know about you till you started Lord of the Rings. Wow, love that. That's cool. Yeah, mindset does matter for books. Like, you can call them like reads, but it was like all this is really like I didn't really read it. you got to read it well. I know, I'm with you. I do miss the book club aspect of it. Things just got too hard. Jen and Danny with the baby, that was really difficult for them to schedule anything. I'll probably eventually bring it back when some of the channels get a bit more stabilized and are doing well. I'll probably bring that back. Potentially doing even like some more Harry Potter and the First Time Reader stuff, which I love. But not the reading hasn't started yet. But we are going to start the read in like a second. So that's probably what we're going to do. Wes left. He just leapt on my bed and is off taking a nap now. All right, guys, we're going to start reading. But I said this before. Some of you guys might not want to do this because you can't chat, but I am going to change the chat to members only, just to reward the members a little bit. You know what I mean? And just so the chat isn't crazy overwhelming, because I'm not going to really take notes on this chapter so much. I'm going to read things and chat about them a little bit, but I'm not going to take notes on it to write essays. I'm just doing this to help my appendices knowledge. So in 30 seconds, I'm going to change the chat to being members only. So you can, if you want, get your last little bits of chat out until I figure out how to actually do this, because sometimes I'm YouTube illiterate. Hey, there's a new shopping tag. Wow, I could tag products. yeah, you can still listen, obviously. You'll rest in Hades in the meantime. Terry May, sorry. I feel so bad now. I can't do it. No, I don't want that. I hate that I have to exit out of this and edit the title. No, hold on. How do I do this? Maybe we might not be able to do this because I don't even know how to do this, to be honest. And this just keeps saying something went wrong, and there's a little monkey on my screen right now. I can't even edit it anymore. Edit. What is it under? Customization? There we go. All right. You guys got another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. I'll see you non-members later. You can become a member for $5 just for a month, just so you can sit and chat. But that was a long group, a long amount of seconds. I like how someone goes, weeding the peasants out, my lord. No, we're not weeding the peasants out, but we're just rewarding the hot tamales, rewarding the just chilling. Wait, that's crazy that you was that the first exposure to me, was doing crosswords? That actually blows my mind that was your first exposure to me, because crosswords did not. did not go so well. But I won't talk about that much. Okay, here we go. I got to clear my throat. I'm going to mute myself real quick so I can clear my throat. And actually, very quickly, too, I need to refresh this because my browser is getting screwed up right now. Oh, come on. Hold on. Give me 1 sec. I got to exit everything. I haven't done crosswords on this in a long time. Oh, maybe that's why I was on the right channel. Sorry, guys. I'm very distracted right now. Trying to set everything up. I gotta have a better system. YouTube Studio. Live. Boom. We're in. We're in. All right, now we're good. All right, here we go. Oh, mods can send messages. There you go. All right, Sarah, welcome. You found a workaround for it. I love it. All right, this is the prologue. The prologue of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. What if I read the entire book like that? That'd be wild. All right, this is a prologue. This book is largely concerned with hobbits. No way. And from its pages, a reader may discover much of their character and a little of their history. Further information will also be found in the selection from the Red Book of Westermarch. Oh, interesting. That has already been published under the title of The Hobbit. The story was derived from the earlier chapters of the Red Book. Composed by Bilbo himself, the first Hobbit to become famous in the world at large, and called him there and back again, and called by him there and back again. It's interesting that J.R.R. Tolkien decided to call it The Hobbit. Is this a dig at his publisher? Did J.R.R. Tolkien actually call it There and Back Again? Honestly, if I'm a publisher, There and Back Again is a better title than The Hobbit. I felt like a dig at his publisher. Probably not, but maybe he's throwing some slight subtle digs at his publishers. It's just his title, okay. Since they told of his journey into the East and his return. An adventure which later involved all the hobbits and the great events of that age that are here related. Many, however, may wish to know more about this remarkable people from the outset, while some may not possess the earlier book. For such readers, a few notes on the more important points are here collected from Hobbit lore, and the first adventure is briefly recalled. Hobbits are an unobtrusive but very ancient people. More numerous formerly than they are today. Sad? Now I need to know why that is. He wanted to name it Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. Why were hobbits more populous than they are today? For they love peace and quiet and good-tilled earth. A well-ordered and well-farmed countryside was their favorite haunt. How many hobbits among us? Dang. I'm a hobbit. Oh, that'd be great. They do not and did not understand or like machines more complicated than a forge bellows, a watermill, or a hand loom. They were skillful with tools. Even in ancient days, they were, as a rule, shy of the big folk, as they call us. Time out. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, as they call us, Tolkien is writing this. Oh, okay. So J.R.R. Tolkien is writing the prologue for his translated book of The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Okay. Sorry, my mind just got blown a little bit. Because I'm in my head, I'm going, the appendices, they're written by the Hobbits, and I was like, oh, the prologue is written by the Hobbits too, but it's not. The prologue is written by J.R.R. Tolkien, talking about what Hobbits are. Love that. That's so cool. The big folk, as they call us. And now they avoid us with dismay and are becoming hard to find. They are quick of hearing and sharp-eyed, and though they are inclined to be fat and do not hurry unnecessarily, they are nonetheless nimble and deft in their movements. They possess from the start, or they possess from the first, the art of disappearing swiftly and silently when large folk whom they do not wish to meet come blundering by. Huh. That's funny because Bilbo has that art in a different way, but he's got that art. In this art, they have developed until to men. Wait, did I skip a page? In this art, they have developed until to men it may seem magical. Am I misreading something in that sentence? In this art, they have developed until to men it may seem magical. Hey, Terry May, welcome to the Hot Tamales. Hey, welcome. I'm glad you joined. Not misreading? I feel like I'm just not understanding that sentence. They're so good at it, it seems like, oh, to us, it's magic. Okay, that makes sense then. Until to men, it may seem magical. Okay. Sorry. Sometimes my brain doesn't work. But hobbits have never, in fact, studied magic of any kind. Their elusiveness is due solely to a professional skill that heredity and practice and a close friendship with the earth have rendered inimitable by bigger and clumsier races. A close friendship with the earth. Love that. Ugh. Love hobbits. Man, this is great. As for the hobbits of the Shire... Oh, no, I literally totally skipped a paragraph. Sorry. For they are a little people, smaller than dwarves, less stout and stocky, that is, even when they are not actually much shorter. Their height is variable, ranging between 2 and 4 feet of our measure. A 2-footed hobbit is tiny. They seldom now reach 3 feet, but they have dwindled, they say. That's crazy. They're shorter. They're so much shorter than even the movies seem to broadcast them. That is so small. Also, is this the English version? Did Tolkien was a bit off in his measurement? I feel like that's kind of true. That means they're tiny. If they seldom reach 3 feet, that is so short. Pippin seemed to Baragon like a lad of 10 summers. That's actually true. That's valid. That's so funny. But they have dwindled, they say. And in ancient days, they were taller. According to the Red Book, Bandobras took Bulroar, son of Isumbrus III, was 4'5". That's as tall as my nephew, and able to ride a horse. He was surpassed in all Hobbit records only by 2 famous characters of old. But that curious matter is dealt with in this book. He was surpassed in record, meaning his height, or just like his renown. Wait, Merry and Pippin got taller than 4'5"? I didn't know that. That's funny. I know I just read that, but in my head, for some reason, doesn't the movie line say, what are you standing at? 3'8"? Or something like that? I had that in my head so firmly. Yeah, veritable giants. Huh. And steroids. Yeah, the ants did it to them. That's funny. As for the hobbits of the Shire with whom these tales are concerned, in the days of their peace and prosperity, they were a merry folk. They dressed in bright colors, being notably fond of yellow and green. But they seldom wore shoes, since their feet had tough leathery soles, and were clad in a thick curling hair, much like the hair of their heads, which was commonly brown. Thus the only craft little practiced among them was shoemaking, but they had long and skillful fingers and could make many useful and comely things. Their faces were as a rule good nature rather than beautiful, broad, bright-eyed, red-cheeked, with mouths apt to laughter, and to eating and drinking. And laugh they did, and eat and drink often and heartily, being fond of simple jests at all times, and of 6 meals a day, when they can get them. They were hospitable and delighted in parties and in presents, which they gave away freely and eagerly accepted. Ah, that's cute. It is plain indeed that in spite of the latter estrangement, hobbits are relatives of ours, far nearer to us than elves, or even than dwarves. Whoa, that's kind of cool. Of old they spoke the languages of men, after their own fashion, and liked and disliked much of the same thing as men did. But what exactly our relationship is can no longer be discovered. The beginning of hobbits lies far back in the elder days that are now lost and forgotten. Only the elves still preserve any records of that vanished time, and their traditions are concerned almost entirely with their own history, in which men appear seldom and hobbits are not mentioned at all. Yet it is clear that hobbits had, in fact, lived quietly in Middle-earth, for as many long years before other folk became even aware of them. And the world being after are full of strange creatures beyond count. These little people seem of very little importance. But in the days of Bilbo and Frodo his heir, they suddenly became, by no wish of their own, both important and renowned. Troubled the counsels of the wise and the great. What a cool kind of prologue. It's so funny because I think when I would try to read this, I was like, this is boring. This is like peak. This is so good right now. I could read a whole book of this, which I feel like is the Silmarillion. Fun fact, we found a hobbit-sized relative of Homo sapiens. No way. That's so cool. So it's true. This book is real. That's great. Wait, it irritates you the movies gave hobbits large feet? They just have stout feet? They just have hard feet? Since their feet had tough, leathery soles. Yeah, I guess they didn't have large feet. Maybe they had a little bit large feet. All right, let's keep reading. We do have a lot of reading tonight, so I'm going to just keep trucking along. Those days, the third age of Middle Earth, are now long past, and the shapes of all lands had been changed. But the regions in which hobbits then lived were doubtless the same as those in which they still linger, the northwest of the old world, east of the sea. Of their original home, the hobbits in Bilbo's time preserved no knowledge. A love of learning other than genealogical lore was far from general among them. But there remained still a few in the older families who studied their own books, and even gathered reports of old times and studied distant lands from elves, dwarves, and men. Their own records began only after the settlement of the Shire, than their most ancient legends, hardly looked further back than their wandering days. It is clear nonetheless from these legends and from the evidence of their peculiar words and customs that, like many other folk, hobbits had in the distant past moved westward. Their earliest tales seem to glimpse a time when they dwelt in the upper vales of the Anduin, between the eaves of Greenwood the Great and the Misty Mountains. Oh, interesting. Why they later undertook the hard and perilous crossing of the mountains into Eriador is no longer certain. Their own crossing, or their own accounts, speak of the multiplying of men in the land, and of a shadow that fell on the forest, so that it became darkened, and its new name was Mirkwood. Oh. So interesting. Is the shadow in Mirkwood Dol Guldur? Is it the necromancer? Interesting. That's cool. I like it that hobbits like have their senses about them, that they like almost can sense these things before other people can sense them. And they're like, we're out of here. And they just want to go to places where there's peace. I really want to be a hobbit. That's so cool. Okay, before the crossing of the mountains, the hobbits had already become divided into 3 somewhat different breeds. Okay, I need to memorize this. Harfoots, Stores, and Fallowhides. The Harfoots were of browner skin, smaller and shorter, and they were beardless and bootless. Their hands and feet were neat and nimble, and they preferred highlands and hillsides. The Stores were broader, heavier in build. Their feet and hands were larger, and they preferred flat lands and riversides. The Fallowhides were fairer of skin and also of hair, and they were taller and slimmer than the others. They were lovers of trees and of woodlands. So are our hobbits Harfoots? Are Bilbo and Frodo Harfoots? That's what I guess. Hill regions, browner of skin. That's not quite accurate. Movie accurate. Interesting. Sam was a Harfoot. Frodo was a Fallowhide. Cool. So Sam was like a little brown hobbit. Ah, that's so cool. I said I wasn't going to make videos about this, but I really want to make videos about this. So he's just a mix. I'm sure everyone is probably a mix to some degree now. Yeah, more tan from all their outside work in the fields. He just looks like he's like I don't know, like a Greek, a tan Greek, the aristocrats. The Harfoots had much to do with dwarves in ancient times, and long lived in the foothills of the mountains. They moved westward early, and roamed over Eriador as far as Weathertop, while others were still in wilderlands. They were the most normal and representative variety of hobbit, and far the most numerous. They were most inclined to settle in one place, and longest preserved their ancestral habit of living in tunnels and holes. The Stores lingered longer by the banks of the great river Anduin and were less shy of men. The Stores are Gollum. Okay, yeah, Gollum's a Store. They came west after the Harfoots and followed the course on the Loudwater southward, and there many of them long dwelt between Tharbrad and the borders of Dunland before they moved north again. The Fallowhides, the least numerous, were a northerly branch. They were more friendly with elves. Interesting that Sam's a Fallowhide. Wait, hold on. Who's a Fallowhide? Frodo's a Fallowhide. I was going to say, Sam's love of the elves is very Fallowhide of him. They were more friendly with elves than the other hobbits were, and had more skill in languages and song than in handicrafts. That fits well. And of old they preferred hunting to tilling. Interesting. Hobbit hunters? These are all the ones with the bows and arrows. They crossed the mountain north of Rivendell and came down the river Horwell. In Eriador they soon mingled with other kinds that had preceded them, but being somewhat bolder and more adventurous, they were often found as leaders or chieftains among clans of Harfoots or Stores. Even in Bilbo's time, the strong Fallowhidish strain could still be noted among the greater families, such as the Tooks and the Masters of Buckland. Let's go! That is so cool. Frodo's a Fallowhide, Bilbo's a Fallowhide, the Tooks, the Brandybucks. The Masters of Buckland or the Brandybucks, or maybe not. Okay. So they came. This book has a pretty good map actually. So they came off of Rivendell. The Trollshaws. Interesting. All right, let's keep reading. I'm loving this already. This is really fun. In the westlands of Eriador, between the Misty Mountains and the Mountain of Lune, the hobbits found both men and elves. Indeed, a remnant still dwelt there of the Dunedain, the kings of men, and that came over the sea out of Westerness. But they were dwindling fast in the lands of their northern kingdom, and the lands of their northern kingdom were falling far and wide into waste. There was room and to spare for incomers. Interesting. And ere long, the hobbits began to settle in ordered communities. Most of their early settlements had long disappeared and been forgotten in Bilbo's time. But one of the first to become important still endured, though reduced in size. This was at Bree. And in the Chetwood that lay round about, some 40 miles east of the Shire. It was in these earlier days, doubtless, that the hobbits learned their letters and began to write after the manner of the Dunedain, who had in their turn long before learned the arts from the elves. And in those days also they forgot whatever languages they had used before it, and spoke ever after the common speech, the Westron as it was named, and was current through all the lands of the kings from the kings of Arnor to Gondor, and about all the coasts of the sea from Belfalas to Lune. And yet they kept a few words of their own, as well as their own names of months and days, and a great store of personal names out of the past. About this time, legend among hobbits first became histories with a reckoning of years, for it was in the 1601st year of the Third Age that the Fallowhide brothers, Marcho and Blanco, set out from Bree, and having obtained permission from the High King at Fornost. As the records of Gondor relate, this was Argaleb II, the 20th of the Northern Line, which came to an end with Arvedwi 300 years later. I know all about Arvedwi now. This is fun, guys. I'm really enjoying this. The High King at Fornost. They crossed the Brown River Barrenduin. With a great following of hobbits. They passed over the bridge of the stone bows that had been built in the days of the power of the North Kingdom, and they took all the land beyond to dwell in, between the river and the far downs. All that was demanded of them was that they should keep the great bridge in repair, and all other bridges and roads speed the king's messengers and acknowledge his lordship. Thus began the Shire reckoning for the year of the crossing of the Brandywine, as the hobbits turned the name, became year 1 of the Shire. That's cool. And all other later dates were reckoned were reckoned from it. Thus, the 3 years of the Third Age and the reckoning of the Elves and the Dunedain may be found by adding 1600 to the dates of Shire reckoning. At once the Western hobbits fell in love with their new land, and they remained there, and soon passed once more out of the history of men and of elves. While there was still a king, they were in name his subjects, but they were in fact ruled by their own chieftains, and meddled not at all with events in the world outside. To the last battle at Fornost, with the witch lord of Angmar, they sent some bowmen to the aid of the king. This is in the appendices. I love this. Or so they maintain, though no tales of men record it. But in that war, the northern kingdom ended. That's annoying that no tales of men record that. Come on. Yeah, I was going to say, is that Brandywine? Branduin? That's cool. I like how it's even like the name changes of this kind of stuff. He just thought of everything. Bar Anduin. Oh, interesting. Dude, his language and etymology stuff is just brilliant. That's crazy. That's so cool. You think it probably didn't happen? Really? I feel like it did. I feel like they sent some of their hunters. It's a little bit of a danger, a little bit of a red flag. Honestly, it's kind of true, but it is said. But I don't know. I feel like they would. Yeah. Well, after we do all Lord of the Rings, we'll do some Quenya lessons. All right, I'm gonna keep reading. But in that war, the northern kingdom ended. And then the hobbits took the land for their own, and they chose from their own chieftains a thane to hold the authority of the king that was gone. There for 1,000 years they were little troubled by wars, and they prospered and multiplied after the dark plague, until the disaster of the long winter and the famine that followed it. Many thousands then perished. But the days of Darth were, at the time of this tale, long past, and the hobbits had again become accustomed to plenty. The land was rich and kindly, and though it had long been deserted when they entered it, it had been before well tilled. And there the king had once had many farms, cornlands, vineyards, and woods. 40 leagues it stretched from the far downs to the Brandywine Bridge, and 50 from the north moors to the marshes in the south. The hobbits named it the Shire, as the region of the authority of their thane, and a district of well-ordered business. Now, is there a reason why they call it the Shire? Does that come from something else in the language? That's true. In the appendices, it's written by hobbits, and it's actually like thought of as fact. So that's such a valid point. That they're just trying to promote their own history. Honestly, I don't know. Oh yeah, Shire is just English. Old English for land. That's true. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think the actual real word for it was? Isn't there a fact that Bilbo and Frodo's names in the Red Book are not Bilbo and Frodo, that there's something else, and he just translated them, or not translated, he just gave them new names in the English? What were their original names? Am I making that up? That's a read and find out. Interesting. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep reading. The hobbits named it the Shire, as the region of the authority of their thane, and a district of well-ordered business. And there in the pleasant corner of the world, they plied their well-ordered business of living. And they heeded less and less the world outside, where dark things moved, until they came to think that peace and plenty were the rule in Middle-earth. and the right of all sensible folk. They forgot or ignored what little they had ever known of the Guardians. The Guardians being the Dunedain. And of the labors of those that made possible the long peace of the Shire, which is so valid. The hobbits are having peace, and they're just so ignorant of the world around them, of what is happening to have them have this peace. The Rangers are fighting battles outside right now, trying to give them peace. Man. They were, in fact, sheltered, but they had ceased to remember it. That's so fascinating. At no time had hobbits of any kind been warlike, and they had never fought among themselves. Until, actually they still don't really fight among themselves. In olden days they had, of course, been often obliged to fight and maintain themselves in a hard world. But in Bilbo's time, that was very ancient history. The last battle before this story opens, and indeed the only one that had ever been fought within the borders of the Shire, was beyond living memory, the Battle of the Greenfields in 1147, in which Bandorbrus took, routed an invasion of orcs. Even the weathers had grown milder, and the wolves that had once come ravening out into the north in bitter white winters were now only a grandfather's tale. So though there were still some stores of weapons in the Shire, these were used mostly as trophies, hanging above hearths or on walls, or gathered into museums at Michael Delving. The Matham House, it was called, for anything that hobbits had no immediate use for, but were unwilling to throw away, they called a Matham. Their dwellings were apt to become rather crowded with Mathams, and many of the presents that passed from hand to hand were of that sort. Mathams. Does anybody use that word in normal life? I'm going to start using that word now. I have a bunch of Mathams around my apartment. I got a lot of Mathams around my apartment. We're a bunch of Matham people. Yeah, I'm going to start doing this now. It's a great word. Let's make this just become more used. Yeah, you said Matham once. People beat you up for it. Shame on those people. Michael Delving is an interesting name for a place like this. Is Michael, someone regale me on this. Is Michael Delving this is where they were locked up. I know about Michael Delving, but is it a city? Is it like Hobbiton? Or is Michael Delving just the museum? And why was it called Michael Delving again? It's a weird name. That just seems to come out of nowhere. Is this like Michaelmas? Mickle is how you call it? Okay, Mickle Delving? Like the Mickle Mist, but the Mickle Delving? So it just doesn't mean big hole? Like a large delving? Like Washington, D.C., it's true. It's a great point. We got some weird cities here. Mickle, so, okay, that's interesting. Duralumin, what's up? Cool name, too. Love that. Welcome to the Hot Tamales. So it's just a museum in your mind? Mickle Delving is the main town of the Shire. Interesting, bigger than Hobbiton. Mickle is large. Large diggings. That's the most Hobbit name that I've ever heard in my life. Delving is well delving. Interesting. Where are you from? I'm from Large Hole. What a good name. All right, let's keep reading. Gigadigs. Nonetheless, ease and peace had left this people still curiously tough. That's darn right. They were, if it came to it, difficult to daunt or to kill. And they were perhaps so unwearyingly fond of good things, not least because they could, but when put to it, do without them. and could survive rough handling by grief, foe, or weather in a way that astonished those who did not know them well and looked no further than their bellies and their well-fed faces. That is so fascinating. Because those two things don't go hand in hand, but I love that they go hand in hand with hobbits. They were perhaps so unwearyingly fond of good things, not least because they could, when put to it, do without them and could survive rough handling by grief. That's a hard thing to do. I love that. We named something Arizona. Arid zone. That's so valid. That's hilarious. I mean, like, we're really original here. I live in the state called New Jersey. We just take a British place and say New. We're the New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire. We're super original over here. Though slow to quarrel, and for sport killing nothing that lived, they were doughty at bay, and at need could still handle arms. They shot well with the bow, for they were keen-eyed and sure at the mark. Not only with bows and arrows, if any hobbit stooped for a stone, it was well to get quickly under cover, as all trespassing beasts knew very well. Interesting. So they're just good at throwing stones. I love that. That's so great. I love that we're just making fun of good state and good country or good place names. Baton Rouge, Red Stick. That's so funny. Yeah, Sam with the apple. A well-placed apple right at Bill Ferny's head. Yeah, they'd be so good at darts. Man, this is great. Green Mountain State is Vermont. What does Vermont mean? Just Green Mountain? Vermont? Yeah, isn't that French for Green Mountain or something? That's hilarious. Man, I guess Mickle delving makes perfect sense now. It hits. It makes perfect sense. All hobbits had originally lived in holes in the ground, or so they believed, and in such dwellings they still felt most at home. But in the course of time, they had been obliged to adopt other forms of abode. Actually, in the Shire in Bilbo's days, it was, as a rule, only the richest and the poorest hobbits that maintained the old custom. The poorest went on living in burrows in the most primitive kind, mere holes indeed, with only one window or none, while the well-to-do still constructed more luxurious versions of simple diggings of old. But suitable sites for these large and ramifying tunnels, or smiles as they called them, were not everywhere to be found. And in the flats and the low-lying districts, the hobbits, as they multiplied, began to build above ground. Indeed, even in the hilly regions and the older villages such as Hobbiton and Tuckborough, or in the chief township of the Shire, Mickle delving on the White Downs, there were now many houses of wood, brick, or stone. These were especially favored by millers, smiths, ropers, and cartwrights, and others of that sort. For even when they had holes to live in, hobbits had long been accustomed to build sheds and workshops. The habit of building farmhouses and barns was said to have begun among the inhabitants of the Marish down by the Brandywine. The hobbits of that quarter, the East Farthing, were rather larger and heavy-legged, and they wore dwarf boots in muddy weather. But there were well known to be stores in a large part of their blood, as indeed was shown by the down that many grew on their chins. By the down that many grew on their chins? Is that another word for they just have a little hair? Oh, peach fuzz? Yeah. Beards, but not very good ones? That's cute. I love that. Huh. No Harfoot or Fallowhide had any trace of a beard. Indeed, the folks of the Marish and of Buckland east of the river, which they afterward occupied, came for the most part later into the Shire, up from the south away. And they had many peculiar names and strange words not found elsewhere in the Shire. It is probable that the craft of building, as many other crafts besides, was derived from the Dunedain. But the hobbits may have learned it directly from the elves. Interesting. The teachers of men in their youth. For the elves of the High Kindred had not yet forsaken Middle-earth, and they dwelt still at the time of the Grey Havens away to the west, and in other places within reach of the Shire. 3 elf towers. I just did a video about this. Of immemorial age were still to be seen on the tower hills beyond the western marches. I'm gonna hyperventilate. You know what's in one of those towers, guys? This is crazy. The hobbits of the West Farthing. Oh no, they shone far off in the moonlight. The tallest was furthest away, standing alone upon a green mound. This is cool. You know what's in one of these towers, guys? This is the best. This is so cool. It's just so visual. It's just so easy to see this stuff in your head. It's just so cool. So this is Emmenberia, the Tower Hills. Yep, exactly. I just did a little bit of a deep dive on that video coming out tomorrow. Yeah, Círdan had a mighty good beard. It's funny, I looked up images of Círdan today, and some have him have a real big beard, and some have him just like a little bit of a beard. I know, when I read this for the second time, my mind is going to be blown. This is crazy. But this isn't like a good one of, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to finish this paragraph. They shone far off in the moonlight. The tallest was the furthest away, standing alone upon a green mountain. The hobbits of the West Farthing said that one could see the sea from the top of that tower. But no hobbit had ever been known to climb it. Indeed, few hobbits had ever seen or sailed upon the sea, and fewer still had ever returned to report it. Most hobbits regarded even rivers and small boats with deep misgivings, and not many of them could swim. And even as the days of the Shire lengthened, they spoke less and less with the elves, and grew afraid of them, and distrustful of those that had dealings with them. And the sea became a word of fear among them, and a token of death, and they turned their faces away from the hills into the west. Hills in the west. Interesting. There's an essay there. I'm not going to write it till later, but there's such an interesting essay there about people who don't have their mind set on ethereal things. Their hobbits are the most grounded, sensory, I don't know another word for it, gritty people. So interesting. So, oh yeah, I mean, I could pull up a map, but I have the map in my head right now because I was literally just making a video about this today. This is so fascinating. I'm going to pull up a map still, just so we can chat about this. Map of Middle-earth. We really need a better website that has a better map of Middle-earth. Anybody want to make one? All right, here we go. Join me on a journey. So this is where we are. Mickle-delving, Hobbiton, Mickle-delving, but we have the Far Downs, the White Downs, the Tower Hills. On these Tower Hills were... I gotta pull up an image of this. One second. Let me open the files. These are the towers. That look upon the sea. Erisea is out there. Because in one of these towers, real high, right up in there, there's a Palantir. And in that Palantir, it looks out to Erisea because Elendil wanted to look out to Erisea. I really like Lord of the Rings. This stuff is the coolest stuff of all time. That was the Gulf of Loon. Yeah, that looked like the Gulf of Loon. But Erisea, I still need to figure out where Erisea is. I think I was wrong in some of the video that I made yesterday or tomorrow, that I made today for tomorrow. So you guys have to correct me in that because I think I'm wrong about a few things. Dang, this book is cool, guys. All right, let's keep reading. You can only see the sea from the top of the tallest tower. But is seeing the bay really seeing the sea? Like, if you see the Gulf, can you actually see the sea? Is that part of the sea? I don't know. Yeah, Kathy, I'm kind of with you. Like a gateway to the sea. Okay, Erisea is an island. They talk about it more in the Silmarillion. I think I was wrong because in the video I said that maybe Erisea is like the larger version of Numenor, or not the larger version, but like it's like Holland and the Netherlands. They're like almost one and the same, pretty much one and the same to everyone else who's not Dutch. Sorry if you're Dutch. Someone's gonna become a member real quick, and they're gonna be Dutch and they're gonna say, John, you're totally wrong. Where's Yost? Where's Yost when you need him? All right, I'm going to keep reading. Man, my throat. The craft of building may have come from elves or men, but the hobbits used it in their own fashion. They did not go in for towers. Their houses were usually low, long, and comfortable. The oldest kind were indeed no more than built imitations of smiles, thatched with dry grass or straw or roofed with turfs, and having walls somewhat bulged. That stage, however, belonged to the early days of the Shire, and hobbit building had long since been altered and improved by devices learned from dwarves or discovered by themselves. A preference for round windows and even round doors was the chief remaining peculiarity of the hobbit architecture. That's cool. The houses and holes of the Shire were often large and inhabited by large families. Bilbo and Frodo Baggins were as bachelors very exceptional, as they were also in many other ways, which is so interesting at the end with all those. This is so fascinating. Frodo and Sam living together, like it's a commonality. Kevin, you're Dutch. I'm totally right. I love that. I'm 50% Dutch. You can't say people who are dismissive of other cultures and the Dutch. Sorry. I am Dutch. I'm half Dutch. Let me keep reading. As they were also in many other ways, such as their friendship with the elves. Sometimes, as in the case of many Tooks and Great Smiles, or the Brandy Bucks, or Brandy Hall, many generations of relatives lived in comparative peace together with one ancestral and many-tunneled mansion. All hobbits were, in any case, clannish and reckoned up their relationships with great care. They drew long and elaborate family trees with innumerable branches. In dealing with hobbits, it is important to remember who is related to whom and in what degree. It would be impossible in this book to set out a family tree that included even the most important members of the more important families, at the time of which these tales tell of. The genealogical trees at the end of the Red Book of Westermarch are a small book in themselves, but all but hobbits would find them exceedingly dull. Hobbits delighted in such things, if they were accurate. They liked to have books filled with things that they already knew. Set out fair and square with no contradictions. That's great. I love that. It's hilarious. All right, we keep reading. Yeah, they got no time for nonsense. This is concerning pipeweed. There is another astonishing thing about hobbits of old that must be mentioned. An astonishing habit. They imbibed or inhaled, through pipes of clay or wood, the smoke of the burning leaves of an herb, which they called pipeweed or leaf, a variety probably of Nicotiana. A great deal of mystery surrounds the origin of this peculiar custom, or art as the hobbits preferred to call it. All that could be discovered about it in antiquity was put together by Meriadoc Brandybuck, later master of Buckland. And since he and the Depaco of the South Farthing play a part in the history that follows, his remarks in the introduction of his herb lore of the Shire may be quoted. This, he says, is the one art that we certainly claim to be our own invention. When hobbits first began to smoke is not known. All the legends and family histories take it for granted. For ages, folk in the Shire smoked various herbs, some fouler, some sweeter. But all accounts agree that Tobold Hornblower of Longbottom in the South Farthing first grew the true pipeweed in his own gardens in the days of Isengrim II, about the year 1070 of Shire reckoning. The best homegrown still comes from that district, especially varieties now known as Longbottom Leaf, Old Toby, and Southern Star. This is so fun. How Old Toby came by the plant is not recorded, for to his dying day he would not tell. He knew much about herbs, but was no traveler. It is said that in his youth he went often to Bree, though he certainly never went further than the Shire than that. It is thus quite possible that he learned of this plant in Bree, where now, at any rate, it grows well on the southern slopes of the hill. The Bree hobbits claim to have been the first actual smokers of pipeweed. They claim, of course, to have done everything before the people of the Shire, whom they refer to as colonists. Interesting! This would be such a fun video. The colonists. That's hilarious. Which, they kind of have a point. I mean, do they kind of have a point there? Are they kind of right? Yeah, this is for sure small town energy. Oh, this is the lore that Mary would have liked to tell Théoden. So sad. Man. The Bree hobbits claim to have been the first actual of their colonists, but in this case, their claim is, I think, likely to be true. There you go. There you go. That's actually hilarious. And certainly it was from Bree that the art of smoking the genuine weeds spread in the recent centuries among dwarves and such other folks, rangers, wizards, and wanderers, as still passed to and fro through that ancient road meeting. The home and center of the art is thus to be found in the old inn of Bree, the prancing Vony. That's so fascinating. That has been kept by the family of Butterbur from time beyond record. Wow, it's a family inn. That's cool too. Also, do elves not smoke pipe? I guess they have to live forever. They can't have their mouths inflicted with smoke. Maybe it would slowly seep into them. Poor elves. The elves definitely had a smoking section in Rivendell too, where it's the only place that Bilbo could go smoke. They were like, ugh, he smells so bad all the time. Although sometimes I think it smells kind of good. Tobacco smoke smells good. I don't like cigarette smoke all that much. Cigarette smoke, meh. I do like the smoke of tobacco. The smell of the smoke of tobacco. Yeah, they do need it for sure. They have the Mirivore. I guess that's their version. They get drunk on like some fireball. You can't get drunk on Mirivore though. I should be smoking my pipe now. My Aragorn pipe. I'm gonna just fake it. This is so cool. All the same, observations that I have made on my own, many journeys south, have convinced me that the weed itself is not native to our parts of the world, but came northward from the lower Anduin, whither it was, I suspect, originally brought over the sea by the men of the Westerness. It grows abundantly in Gondor, and there is richer and larger than in the north, where it is never found wild. Interesting. It flourishes only in warm sheltered places like Longbottom, and men of Gondor call it sweet galenus, and esteem it only for the fragrance of its flowers. Where have I heard that before? From that land it must have been carried up the Greenway during the long centuries, from the coming of Elendil and our own days. But even the Dunedain of Gondor allow us this credit. Hobbits first put it into pipes. Not even the wizards first thought of that before we did. Though one wizard that I knew took up the art long ago and became as skillful in it as all other things that he put his mind to. Aw, that's cute, little Gandalf. Really? Do you think this Gandalf, is that Radagast? Doesn't Radagast smoke a pipe too? I feel like I remember that in the movies. Or no, maybe they tried to give him a pipe to smoke. And he goes like crazy with his ears or something like that. Wait, when he was healing, interesting. When Aragorn was teasing them. The sweet Galenus. Oh, that's right. I remember that now, kind of. Nicholas, welcome to the Hot Tamales. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Saruman had barrels of Longbottom leaf in his pantry. What a scallywag. Yeah, that was definitely movies only. I'm only remembering that. All right. Let's keep plowing ahead. A few pages left. This is part 3, the ordering of the Shire. The Shire was divided into 4 quarters. The farthings already referred to north, south, east, and west, and these again into each number of folklands, which still bore the names of some old leading families, although by the time of this history these names were no longer found only in their proper folklands. Nearly all Tooks still lived in the Tooklands, but that was not true of many other families, such as the Bagginses or Boffins. Outside the farthings were the east and west marches, the Buckland, and the West March added to the Shire in Shire Reckoning 1452. The Shire at this time had hardly any government. Families, for the most part, managed their own affairs. Growing food and eating it occupied most of their time. In other matters, they were, as a rule, generous and not greedy, but contented and moderate, so that estates, farms, workshops, and small trades tended to remain unchanged for generations. That's nice. There remained, of course, the ancient tradition concerning the High King at Fornost, or Norbury as they called it, away north of the Shire. But there had been no king for nearly 1,000 years. What was the ancient tradition? And even the ruins of King's Norbury were covered with grass. Yet the hobbits still said of wild folk and wicked things, such as trolls, that they had not heard of the king. For they attributed to the king of old all their essential laws. And usually they kept the laws of free will because they were the rules, as they said, both ancient and just. Interesting. He was a very optimist anarchist. Tradition means a memory handed down. Okay, interesting. Child sacrifice. The Entwives. It has something to do with the Entwives. One of these days, I'm going to read Lord of the Rings specifically with Entwives in mind. And I'm only going to try to figure out ways of finding the Entwives. It's got to be in here somewhere. There's got to be a mystery that J.R.R. Tolkien embedded in this. They smoked the Entwives. They were smoking hot. Treebeard goes, here's my smoking hot wife. Literally. Okay, interesting. I won't read the fourth part then. I won't. The Finding of the Ring. Okay. I won't read that. I'll just go to notes on Shire Records. Thank you. You can smoke beef? Okay, let's finish this little section. It is true that the Took family had been preeminent, for the office of Thane had passed to them from the Old Bucks some centuries before, and the Chief Took had borne it that title ever since. The Thane was the master of the Shire Moot and captain of the Shire Muster, and the Hobbitry in arms. Like a man in arms, but a Hobbitry in arms. That's cute. But as muster and moot were only held in times of emergency, which no longer occurred, the Thaneship had ceased to be more than a nominal dignity. The Took family was still, indeed, accorded a special respect, for it remained both numerous and exceedingly wealthy, and was liable to produce in every generation strong characters of peculiar habits, and even adventurous temperament. The latter qualities, however, were now rather tolerated in the rich than generally approved. The custom endured nonetheless of referring to the head of the family as the Took, and of adding to his name it required a number such as Isengrim II, for instance. Isengrim. The only real official in the Shire at this date was the Mayor of Mickledelving, or of the Shire, who was elected every 70 years at the free fair on the White Downs at the Lythe, that is at midsummer. As mayor, almost his only duty was to preside at banquets given on the Shire holidays, which occurred at frequent intervals. But the offices of postmaster and first sheriff were attached to the mayoralty, so that he managed both the messenger service and the watch. These were the only Shire services, and the messengers were the most numerous and much the busier of the two. By no means all hobbits were lettered, but those who were wrote constantly to all their friends, and a selection of their relations who lived further off than them than an afternoon's walk. The sheriffs was the name of the hobbits. The sheriffs was the name that the hobbits gave to their police, or the nearest equivalent that they possessed. Oh, I know all about the sheriffs now. They had, of course, no uniforms. Such things had been quite unknown. Only a feather in their cap. And they were in practice rather Haywards than policemen. More concerned with the straying of beasts than of people. They were in all the Shire only 12 men, or 12 of them, 3 in each farthing, for inside work. A rather larger body, varying at needs, was employed to beat the bounds, and to see that outsiders of any kind, great or small, did not make themselves a nuisance. At the time when the story begins with the Bounders, as they were called, had been greatly increased. There were many reports and complaints of strange persons and creatures prowling about the borders or over them. The first sign that all was not quite as it should be, and always had been except in tales and legends of long ago. Few heeded the sign, and not even Bilbo yet had any notion of what it portended. 60 years had passed since he set out on his memorable journey, and he was old even for hobbits, who reached 100 as often as not. But much evidently still remained of the considerable wealth that he had brought back. How much or how little he revealed to no one, not even to Frodo, his favorite nephew, and he still kept secret the ring that he had found. Interesting. All right, we're gonna skip part 4 because that's Hobbit spoilers, and then we're gonna do a note on Shire records. Median age at death 100. Interesting. Yeah, the Outriders and the Rangers. I wonder if they had any relationships. I wonder if any of the hobbits really had relationships with the Outriders. Or any hobbits had relationships with the Rangers. Like, did anybody... I'm curious if Bilbo knew who Aragorn was. Aragorn doesn't pop up in The Hobbit. That'd be cool if he did. I don't think he does. Don't give me any spoilers. These are just questions I'm asking out loud. Like Bilbo out of all the hobbits right now would probably have the most understanding of the Rangers, but do you think that he does? I don't know. I don't know how he would know. He did. They were friends. Interesting. Okay. Hobbit lives are 3 to 2 years when compared to men. Interesting. Okay. Bilbo's friends with Aragorn when Frodo and the other hobbits come to Rivendell for the first time. You think he is before? Interesting. He would have been 10 years old at the time. So he was probably chilling in Rivendell at the time, no? That'd be fun, a fun like side movie. I don't know if maybe it's not canon or anything. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe it's just hypothetical and not real, but I feel like it'd be kind of fun. I feel like they probably would know each other to some extent. Yeah, I don't know when that would happen, but I feel like they would. Unless the only reason I could think they wouldn't is because they were just trying to keep Aragorn a secret. And I don't know how well Bilbo can keep a secret. He's a chatty person. So would Bilbo have boasted all the time to hobbits that he knew the king? Or maybe he knew who Strider was, but not Aragorn. You know what I mean? Weird questions, but... yeah, Bilbo came with a rhyme that describes him, for sure. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. He did keep the ring a secret. That's true. But that's like, maybe that's a different secret. That'd be a good essay. Does Bilbo keep secrets? If he feels the need, for sure. Yeah, that's true. If Aragorn presses on him the severity of not knowing his identity or not chattering about his identity, he could probably do that. Yeah, not secret enough. Merry did find out. Yeah, that's actually a great point. It's a great point. Yeah, I feel like he probably met Aragorn on one of those little excursions somewhere. Fascinating. Okay. Let me finish this up. Notes on the Shire records. At the end of the Third Age, the part played by the hobbits in the greater events that led to the inclusion of the Shire in the reunited kingdom awakened among them a more widespread interest in their own history, and many of their traditions up to that time, still mainly oral, were collected and written down. The greater families were also concerned with the events in the kingdom at large, and many of their members studied its ancient histories and legends. By the end of the first century of the Fourth Age, there were already to be found in the Shire several libraries that contained many historical books and records. The largest of these collections were probably at Under Towers, at Great Smiles, and at Brandy Hall. This account of the end of the Third Age is drawn mainly from the Red Book of Westermarch. That most important source for the history of the War of the Ring was so called because it was long preserved at Under Towers. The home of the Fair Barons, Wardens of the Westermarch. That's in Appendix B, so we're going to get there. And a note at the end of Appendix C. So we'll get there a little bit. Westmarch, not Westermarch. Yeah, Westmarch, thank you. It was in origin Bilbo's private diary, which he took with him to Rivendell. Frodo brought it back to the Shire together with many loose leaves of notes. And during Shire Reckoning 1420, good year. Very, very good year. If I had beer in this, it'd be a 1420. He nearly filled its pages with his account of the war, but annexed to it and preserved with it, probably in a single red case, were 3 large volumes bound in red leather that Bilbo gave to him as a parting gift. To these 4 volumes there were added in Westmarch a 5th containing commentaries, genealogies, and various other matters concerning the Hobbit members of the Fellowship. Interesting. The original Red Book has not been preserved. No! But many copies were made, especially of the first volume, for use of the descendants of the children of Master Samwise. The most important copy, however, has a different history. It was kept at Great Smiles, but it was written in Gondor. Now that's okay. So this is a slightly interesting thing. There's a lot of there's just like a lot of read between the lines here. The first thing is I think this is where we were talking about Rosie, and does Rosie ever get mentioned until the end of Lord of the Rings? And she doesn't. But I understand why people think that she might because of that, because it says Samwise is married and he has lots of children. And so it's like inadvertently mentioning her. But then it doesn't mention anything. So like I guess in this story you read that Sam gets married and you're like, wait, he doesn't talk about any woman the entire time. And then all of a sudden she pops up at the end. The most important copy, however, has a different history. It was kept at Great Smiles, but it was written in Gondor, probably at the request of the great-grandson of Peregrine, and completed in Shire Reckoning 1592. Its southern scribe appended this note. Fendigil, King's writer, finished this work in IV 172, in the Fourth Age of 172. It is an exact copy in all details of the Thane's book in Minas Tirith. That book was a copy made at the request of King Elisar of the Red Book of Perionath, and was brought to him by the Thane Peregrine when he retired to Gondor in the Fourth Age in 64. Is that saying what I think it's saying? I mean, it makes sense, but I did not think that that was going to happen. Ah, Pippin. Ah. Yeah, he's spoiling content here. Kendrick, it's interesting because there's a point where it's not really that important of a point, but when you get to know the characters, it really is an important point. Like when you get to know Pippin's journey, uh, it's not important before that. Now that I know Pippin's journey, this is oh, it's beautiful. Man. Narnia Queen, what's up? Pippin does die. Yes. Man. Yeah, for real. If you read this and you read this with like a lot of patience and gusto, which you're a reader who does that, you'll be fine on this. And you come back to some stuff like this, it might seem boring, but all this is so fascinating now. Like Kendrick, I think you're gonna be one of those readers like that. You finish Lord of the Rings and you're gonna soak up the appendices. They're just gonna be so fascinating to you. There's just so many extra details and so many things that he filled in here. This is so crazy that I guess he was buried in Gondor. Oh, that never crossed my mind what his destiny was going to be. I guess I just assumed that he was going to die in the Shire. But I mean, it makes sense. Now it makes me curious where Merry is going to. Ah. Oh, it makes me want to cry because I feel like he's going to be buried next to his buddy. Oh man, that's so great. Put him in a little tomb next to Baragond and Baragol. Ah, so good. The smallest little details in this get me, guys. All right, this is Appendix B. All right. Let me finish this section. The Thane's book was thus the first copy made of the Red Book and contained much that was later lost or omitted. In Minas Tirith, it received much annotation and much corrections, especially of names, words, and quotations in the Elvish language. And there was added to it an abbreviated version of those parts, the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. Which lie outside the account of the war. The full tale is stated to have been written by Barahir, grandson of the steward Faramir. No way. Barahir is a cool name. What is I'm thinking of Gwai here. I was like, Barahir. I was like, is this one of the Eagles? But Barahir, the grandson of Steward Faramir. What a grandson this is. And I love that he's a lore master. It's like Borahir. The Ring of Barahir. That's true. Dang. All these names just ring so many small little bells for me. Dang. I just don't know where they're from. Grandson of the steward Faramir. Sometime after the passing of the king. But the chief importance of Findegil's copy is that it alone contains the whole of Bilbo's translation from the Elvish. These 3 volumes were found to be a work of great skill and learning in which between 1403 and 1418 he had used all the sources available to him in Rivendell, both living and written. Since they were little used by Frodo, being almost entirely concerned with the elder days, no more is said of them here. Since Meriadoc and Peregrine became the heads of their great families, and at the same time kept up the connections with Rohan and Gondor, the libraries of Buckland and Tuckborough contain much that did not appear in the Red Book. In Brandy Hall, there were many works dealing with Eriador and the history of Rohan. Some of these were composed or begun by Meriadoc himself, though in the Shire he was chiefly remembered for his herb lore of the Shire, and for his reckoning of years, in which he discussed the relation of the calendars of the Shire and Bree to those of Rivendell, Gondor, and Rohan. He also wrote a short treatise on old words and names in the Shire, showing special interest in discovering the kinship with the language of Rohirrim of such Shire words as Matham and old elements in place names. At Great Smiles, the books were of less interest to the Shire folk, though more important for larger history. None of them was written by Peregrine, but he and his successors collected many manuscripts written by scribes of Gondor, mainly copies or summaries of histories, or legends relating to Elendil and his heirs. Only here in the Shire were to be found extensive materials for the history of Númenor, and the arising of Sauron. It was probably at the Great Smiles that the Tale of the Years was put together. Tale of the Years is much reduced form in Appendix B as far as the end of the Third Age. Though these dates given are often conjectural, especially for the Second Age, they deserve attention. It is probable that Meriadoc obtained assistance and information from Rivendell, which he visited more than once. There, though Elrond had departed, his sons long remained together with some of the high elven folk. It is said that Kelliborn went to dwell there after the departure of Galadriel. Huh? Did I miss something in the last chapter? What? I'm gonna make one video out of this whole thing right now. Tolkien gave me the most and the biggest spoiler in the entire world. How dare he? But there is no record of the day when at last he sought the Grey Havens, and with him went the last living memory of the elder days in Middle-earth. What? It is said that Kelliborn went to dwell there after the departure of Galadriel, but there is no record of the day when at last he sought the Grey Havens. And with him went the last living memory of the elder days in Middle-earth. My mind is shattered right now. So was Kelliborn living in Rivendell alone? Mm-hmm. Yeah, my melon is shattered. I got a shattered melon right now. My brain is breaking. Why? He had to be one of the high elves, no? Yeah, he was with the sons of Elrond, but still, that's a lonely life. Yeah, he was with his grandson. That's crazy to think of that. That's crazy. Just no important people. That's crazy. Lorraine was deserted. This makes me so interested to know why. I guess this is like a spoiler that makes me want to know what happens so badly that I like soak up the book to read the appendices. To me, this is like Tolkien, like, hey, bypass all Lord of the Rings and go read the appendices right now. This is crazy. Actually, he's not actually saying that, but it makes me want to do that. Why? Man. Yeah, his wife left him. What the heck? His wife's like, I need a break from you. Can you stay here a little bit? In my head, I think he doesn't want to leave because is he really starting to like Middle-earth? Or does he have to do like a little bit of a cleanup? Teleporno left behind. They were on a break. Teleporno. Man, this is crazy. Yeah, it is true. He spoils the fate of all the characters because, all of them make it back. That's crazy. Tolkien and his spoilers. This is nuts. Man, my mind's breaking. This is crazy. Yeah, time's different for elves than us, but still. They have that I'll say this. There's no record of the day when at last he sought the Grey Havens. And with him went the last living memory of the elder days in Middle-earth. That makes me think, I don't think this is how it is. I think he actually did find a ship that took him out there. Círdan probably left something hidden behind. It makes me think that he didn't find his ship out. That the last living memory of the elder days in Middle-earth is him dying. Man, I am so curious to see what happens for this. Okay. Wow. Mind is broken. That's crazy that he gave that spoiler. But it just makes me so intrigued about what's going to happen. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Blows my mind. Yeah, everyone liked the stream. Thank you, Narnia Queen. All right, guys, I'm gonna open up back up to the Gen Pub, to all the peons and the plebes. But no one give me spoilers. Mods, have your hand ready for mutes and bans. If anybody, yeah, we gotta let all the Samwises back in the chat. Welcome, Samwises. This is blowing my mind. What's up? How are you? Ah, man, that was a crazy read. What's up, peons? No, you guys are the best. Man, that read kind of blew my mind at the end. Like nothing, there were some really cool things. There was nothing like revelatory. Like there was some fun stuff that was in that. I loved it. But that last little bit just kind of broke my brain a little bit. Man. No, you guys are Samwises. Come on. That's what you guys are. We have the higher class of like the Frodos and the Merrys and the Pippins. I'd rather be a Samwise. I think we're gonna just. I said I was gonna do a video of that, but I'll probably do one video, just to talk about Kelliborn, and how J.R. Tolkien gave the greatest spoiler ever. Man, that's crazy. I like the idea. I like the idea that, like, so I'm not gonna look at chat for a second because I'm like just gonna theorize, and I don't want any spoilers on this because this seems like such a fun point that I want to get to see actually why he did it. So I'm just gonna theorize for a second, and I'm not looking at anything that you guys say because I can't have any spoilers. If I know Círdan, I feel like he built the ship somewhere. And then maybe hit it like in Lorien. So the last journey of Kelliborn, or as I like to call him, Teleporno, or as his wife likes to call him, Teleporno. Maybe goes to Lorien, says goodbye to Lorien, takes the ship, sails it down the Anduin, out into the sea, and then over the sea, or something like that. Like, I'm in my head, I'm like, there has to be like a ship hidden somewhere that he can cross on. I mean, like, obviously he could probably like make a ship himself, but that would take a lot of work. Man, and why did he stay? Did they have to clean certain things up in Middle Earth? Is he part of the cleanup crew? No, Elros and... Why did Elros and Elrohir stay? Why is that just hitting me now? Why did they stay for longer? I mean, it honestly makes more sense. Oh, not Elros. Yeah, not Elros. Elros, rest in peace, Elros. Eladon and Elrohir. It makes sense that they would stay a little bit longer. They're sisters here. They really love Aragorn. To me, it totally makes sense that they would stay a little bit longer. Like, if I'm them, I would stay an extra, like, century. Just, like, chill, have a good time. Enjoy, like, hanging out with your friend and your sister. Spend as much time with your sister as you can. It is interesting that Kelliborn stays. That's the more intriguing thing for me. Like, why? There's like a beautiful point in that of them just like, maybe they just love Middle Earth. Maybe they just love certain things that they found in Middle Earth. Maybe they've actually found there's a real beauty there. Because it's very similar to like the Hobbits. Not very similar, but there's a similarity to some extent to the Hobbits, and how the Hobbits are people who don't look to the sea. Like, they're so content with what they have there. Like, they've made beauty out of this part in Middle Earth. Maybe Kelliborn's just going to go spend some time with the hobbits. Why? I'm so intrigued by that now. All right, I'm going to start looking at chat now. No more spoilers. Although J.R. Tolkien gave me a huge spoiler. Like, what the heck there? Actually, is that a spoiler? That's kind of a spoiler. That's probably how I'll title the video, because I'll probably make a video about this right after and talk about this. But It's not necessarily a spoiler. It kind of is a spoiler. But it just is like, it just creates intrigue about this. It just makes me ask so many questions about why this happened. Pippin becomes a ring wraith. No! Oh, Pippin being retired at Minas Tirith is so beautiful and tragic to me at the same time. There's like a little bit of sadness in that, to be honest. I feel like he deserves to be buried by Merry. Maybe they'll be buried together. Maybe they'll honor Merry, and he'll be buried next to Pippin. I just want them to be buried next to each other. Well, hold on. Wait, let me find this section. The appendices. Why do I think that it is the last ship? I don't know. It just feels like the last ship. There is the note in the appendix. I don't think it says the last ship, but it does feel final. Here. To him, therefore, was granted the same grace as to those of the high elves that still lingered in Middle-earth, that when weary at last of the mortal lands, that they could take ship from the grey havens and pass into the uttermost west. And this grace continued after the change of the world. I guess that's not necessarily a final ship, but to the children of Elrond, a choice was also appointed to pass with him from the... So that's the thing, to pass with him from the circles of the world, or if they remain, to become mortal men and die in Middle-earth. For Elrond, therefore, all chances of the War of the Ring were fraught with sorrow. That's what makes it final, because it feels like you have to make a choice at that last ship. When Elrond leaves Middle-earth, Elrond is like the last ship that leaves. Like at that, you make a decision. Either you go with Elrond and you pass away into the west, or you stay and you become mortal and you die. That's probably not it. It's not necessarily that that dramatic, but maybe. Every time one goes, you think it's the last. Wait, there's one more ship. He made a whole fleet of ships to anybody that wants to go. That's just so fascinating, though. That's a really cool point. Man, really fascinating. All right, well, I'll get that in the appendices. So we'll get there when we get there. Man, this is cool stuff, guys. Such cool stuff. Okay, let me look. Because I would like to do another appendix reading this Sunday. But we'll see. Gondor and the heirs of Anarion. That's the section we're on. It's 4. We could do 4 up to the stewards. Because I think there's going to be a lot of information there too. The stewards isn't that long, but I feel like the stewards is going to be its own section. Should I just do all of Appendix 4? I don't know positively if I can do Sunday, a live read this Sunday. Partially because I have a lot of videos that I still want to make about the last appendix that I haven't made yet. There's a few like small little details that I want to talk about. Ivy is a 2-stream section. Excellent. So we'll keep it a 2-stream section. We'll do up to the stewards, and then we'll do the stewards after that. And then part 5, which will be soon, here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. That's exciting. That's exciting. So let's like roughly lightly plan for a Sunday afternoon read of Appendix 4. But that's not final yet. I'll finalize it maybe like on Friday or something like that to see if we're going to do that. Barahir, what a cool name too. It's like Boromir, but Barahir. It's like an honor of Boromir. It's cute that he named his grandson. I'm curious what Faramir named his sons now. I want to know all this. This is so interesting. Yeah, Elrond's son's choices are really interesting too. I want to like look into that. I want to write about that. I want to think about that and talk about that. Part 5 is the GOAT. Excellent. Good. I'm excited. You guys all seem to say part 5 is like one of the best, so I'm very excited for it. He named his son Gollum. He had 2 sons. He named one Gollum and the other Smeagol. And then Sam named one son Stinker and the other son Slinker. All right, guys. I'm going to jump off. I'm going to go take Wes for a little walk. A little nighttime pee. Because he's just bundled up right here. You can't see him, but he's just chilling right here. Just all bundled up. And then I'm going to go to bed. What a fun little read that was. I really enjoyed that. So I hope you guys liked it too. And I'll see you in the next one. First time classics feed another Lord of the stream. Yeah. I'll let you know on the first time classics for sure. Most of the other Lord of the Rings streams, Kendrick, most of the other Lord of the Rings streams I do probably won't make that much sense until you finish and do the appendices with us. But honestly, okay, everyone, let's plan a read for Kendrick right now. Because there's a point where we're going to come to the Hobbit probably in the summer sometime. Do you just wait until the summer and then read the Hobbit with us and then you read the Lord of the Rings after? Because if you start doing the Lord of the Rings now, you probably actually could finish the Lord of the Rings quick. You meant Emmy read the appendices first. No, I wouldn't read the appendices first. I don't think I would read the appendices first. Maybe the correct order would be, I mean, it depends on who you talk to. It's probably the Hobbit first, and then Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion. But I know people like Nemo who did the Silmarillion first, and it probably totally changes your reading. Okay, yo, you won't catch up. All right, well, we'll plan it on Discord. We'll figure that out on Discord. We're just giving you an assigned reading right now. Yeah, I wouldn't read the appendices first. Whatever you do, I probably wouldn't read the appendices first. There's too much in Lord of the Rings that you got to understand and know. Nemo, I love that. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Oh, Sarah, thank you. I'm glad it was a good time. I'm glad it was pleasant. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. If you want, subscribe to First Time Classics right here, where we're reading the Scarlet Pimpernel next. I'm doing some Game of Thrones if you want to subscribe to that channel. Some Harry Potter and some Dungeon Crawler Carl. Got a lot of channels going on. It's a little crazy right now, but it's fun. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.